It's the things that cause us the most grief that actually elevate us to places that we never imagined we'd be. We don't want to go through any grief-related event that we've dealt with. But the reality is, grief is tantamount to growth. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Grief Empowerment Theory live stream. The show is dedicated to people going through challenges and learning how to use those challenges to work to their advantage. Give them fuel to go to that next level. Today, I want to have a conversation about the feeling that almost everybody gets. The world is against me. Life is so complicated. I'll be very frank with you. The world is not against you. There are 8 billion people in this world. And I'm pretty sure 7.5 billion of them have used the statement, the world is against me. If over 90% of the population has felt this way, it's not exclusive to you. Now, again, life is a very simple circumstance. You are born, you live a lifespan, and then you pass away. It's a cycle of life. But living, that's the challenging part. That's the part that's making people feel like the world is totally defeating them. Reality is, we have taken so many things that are designed to make our lives easier and made it so much more complicated to a point where we feel that we're inadequate, that there's something that's wrong with us. I mean, think about it. Our phones, there are alerts on our phones that can remind us to do everything. So you set that, and your intention is to follow a protocol. Then you realize there are so many alerts that you are going through that's really not helping you, it's defeating the purpose. Then you look at yourself inadequately. You're saying, well, everyone else can use these. Everyone else can do this without feeling complicated. Why am I having a hard time? And then you start to justify that statement. The world is against me. Everything that's happening is happening against me. And when you take that mind state, your mind will accommodate you. If you feel that everything is against you, your mind is going to show you avenues and circumstances to justify your statement. If you make the choice to shift your perspective, then you can do amazing things. The world is not against you at this point. The world is your oyster. And you have the ability to find the finest pearl, but you have to think differently. See, again, a lot of people think that having contraptions, devices, apps, all these things are going to make their life simpler. Now, it will add simplicity, but it also means that you have to commit to creating an action, serious actions to make that work for you. If you purchase a new app, you need to learn everything you can about it, how it's going to help move you forward, how it's going to make your life less complicated. The more you investigate the things that are going to or that are designed to make your life less complicated, the less complicated it will be. See, it's easy to take the world is against me approach to things. When you do that, you fit in to a part of society that has that belief system. Instead of saying to yourself, I have the ability, I have what it takes to overcome these feelings. And they are feelings. To assume that the world is against you based off of the things that have happened. Now, the circumstance that may have happened may have been extremely tragic, challenging, but these complicated situations, on some level, happen to everyone. It's all about how we choose to navigate them. I, I was actually listening to a podcast and they directed me to a news article. And I saw the article, it was on the Psych Central website. And what was interesting was they were talking about feeling like the world is against you. Uh, Dr. Susanna, I'm sorry, not doctor, I apologize. Susanna Newsom, she wrote this article. And it was interesting because her whole thing was, what do you do when you feel that the world is against you? Because there are some things that you have to take in consideration. The biggest thing is to figure out the ways to help alleviate that feeling because it's a feeling of anxiety. It's a feeling of the walls closing in on you. So Susanna says, one of the things you really want to do is to focus on your breathing. She said that breathing is important because you are being able to relax, shortness of breath creates complicated matters. Do you get tension in your muscles? Because we are on that fight or flight thought process. You don't get enough energy. I mean, I'm sorry, you don't get enough oxygen to your brain. So you're not thinking clearly. All these things. So she said breathing is important. And then she actually talked about a breathing system, a cycle that was developed by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ware. And Dr. Ware had this system called the 478 calming breath cycle system. And with that fact, he decided, well, not decided, he was showing people that you can calm yourself. And calming yourself will allow you to create a solution based off of thinking about it. So the cycle goes like this: you inhale for 7 seconds, or I'm sorry, you inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for seven, and then you let that go for 8 seconds. And you do that a few times because the goal is to calm yourself. Once you calm yourself, you can realize that you have an incredible opportunity. The world is not against you. Learn to see the blessings within those broken pieces of what you've gone through. But she also said this, though. It was really important. You have to be kind to yourself. If you take every challenge that you've been through and you personalize it to a point where you start feeling that nothing's going right, nothing's working for me, the world is against me, you start creating those justifications. That's why she suggests you need to be kinder to yourself. You need to look at the challenges and the circumstances you've been through and say, I'm not going to beat myself up over them. You need to treat this like you're giving advice to your best friend, to your family member. Treat yourself that way. Another thing that she talked about, make sure that you take care of yourself. Self care is important because once you do that, eating right, making sure that you get the proper rest, making sure that you can find a way to relax, to address your mental and emotional, that becomes an extreme benefit. See, the feeling of the world being against you comes from all the anxiety that you feel that morphs into maybe some type of depression based off of your stress. And eats you mentally, emotionally, physically. That's why taking care of yourself, things like eating right, the proper nutrition is key because it re-energizes. So those things that were depleted, you can replenish it by making sure that, again, eating properly, getting a proper amount of sleep, creating some type of exercise regimen. It doesn't have to be hitting the gym, doing the weights. It can be some type of recreation that you do, but do that recreation on a consistent basis because the key is to increase like your serotonin levels, your oxytocin levels, those, get those feel good hormones moving. Now, when that happens, you're successfully combating the feelings of woe is me, the world is against me. You can justify that feeling if you choose to. It a lot of people do, but it will not solve the problem. It will only compound the situation. Now, another thing she suggests that I know a lot of people have a hard time with, eliminate the pressure in areas where you can. Those to-do lists and things like that. Again, that's where those alerts come in. All these different alerts. What we can do is let that let that pressure dissipate. Find a way. You don't have to be on the situation constantly to the point where you're creating the high levels of stress and anxiety. That's working against you. Find a way to take the tasks that you're dealing with. Look at the ones that are priority and address having to handle those first. Anything that you can successfully manage later in the course of that day and prioritize what needs to be prioritized works to your advantage. Because even if you don't get the other task completed, you can set up and schedule time so that you can get it addressed. See, you can successfully navigate through any circumstance you're dealing with, even if the situation is some type of grief where you've lost somebody precious. And I know that's the biggest time where we think the world is unfair. This never should have happened, type of thing. But the reality is, it did happen, and you can't do anything about it. What you can do, though, is focus on moving forward. Once you move forward, that situation is addressed. And if it's not fully addressed, you're on your way to making it happen. Uh, it's important to realize that even though you feel like the world may be against you, you have the tools, you have the techniques that you can put in place to help relieve that situation. Like I said, I mean, it. Listen, Susanna Newsom, she was saying in that Psychology Today article that we have so many different avenues we can look at. For instance, when we have that There's so much going on. This is so large. Taking a moment and using what they call the chunking method, it allows you to look at the entire situation, take pieces, and work on that particular piece until you complete that piece, and then go on to the next thing. When you're dealing with grief, I'm sorry, when you're, yeah, grief, challenges, dealing with the feelings that the world is against you, you have to take that approach. You have to ask yourself, well, can I manage through this? And if so, how can I manage through this? And that's why I said those tools, those coming into place. I mean, I I have a few life hacks. I got a few quick tips that I use. And the reason why is because, hey, I was that guy that would wake up and say, the world is against me. I was facing so many circumstances, so many issues. But then I had to realize, like I said before, life is not happening to me, it's happening for me. And I'm keeping my eyes open, looking for the different miracles and blessings that are hidden. And they're usually hidden right behind the challenges. But like I said, I, I've had to shift the way I think about things and create a little regimen for myself. Like, for instance, I I make it a point to do something new and different every week. And it doesn't have to be major. You know, it can literally be I was learning how to write with my left hand today. Or it can be something as grand as I'm running for president. It's whatever it is. Do something that's out of your comfort zone. Do it once a week. Now think about this. You do something different every week. By the end of the year, you have committed 52 brand new acts to your mind. That is a benefit because you're learning, you're acquiring knowledge. And anything within that time period may have been helpful to addressing whatever circumstance or situation you were feeling and dealing with, the one that made you say to yourself, the world is against me. Now, yeah, look, I've looked to see like how I can tie my grief into some type of cause or something that will benefit me. And not just me, the world around me. I mean, there are people who start up nonprofits in the name of whatever challenges they were facing, and they become a true benefit to the world and personally to themselves. Now, now the world that they're in, the ones that they built, the ones that are making things happen, they are no longer making you feel like the world is against you because you put things in place to help you with that feeling. Uh, Another thing I'd say is understand the value of the time that you're here. You see, it's very easy to be upset at the challenge that happens, to almost make you feel justified in saying, the world is against me. But the reality is that what you can do is take inventory of your situation. The losses that you've been through, that can literally lead to a circumstance that works to your advantage. You know, it's like the loss you've been through, that can wake you up to seeing how limited time actually is. To see that you don't have forever to get it right. You don't have forever. Every day you complain about the world being against you, that's another day that you could have used to create a solution. Stay solution oriented to avoid being problem plagued. Shift your mind from believing that the world is against you to realizing that everything that you are going through in the world is working to your benefit because it is giving you lessons. It's teaching you how to traverse and navigate through certain situations. And yes, eh, those things are hard and they are going to make you feel like life is it's against you. But the reality of that situation is that life's an equal opportunity circumstance. The FU, anybody can get it. And as long as you begin to understand that, you're going to be in a much better place because life life will give you what you're looking at. And meaning that if you want to believe that the world is against you, the mind will accommodate you by showing you every avenue that makes you feel that the world's against you. Because it needs to provide evidence. And that evidence is you telling yourself, again, the world is against me. Or you can turn around and you can say, that challenge, that challenge is so helpful because it's given me the strength. I've learned how to navigate through it. I've learned how to find a way out of no way. And when you do that, what happens is that feeling of the world being against you slowly, slowly it starts to abate. There are a few factors that are behind that whole world is against me type of thing. And all of them, seriously, they're so all of them you can control. Like one of the things that is major is that everybody, you want to feel liked. You want to feel a part of something. You don't want to be rejected. But that rejection will lead you to believe that things are against you. Because in your mind, it's, you know what? Nobody likes me. I can't do anything right to get people to want to hang out with me. And that can become a severe mental, emotional, even physical circumstance. So what has to happen at that point is you have to you have to tell yourself, no, that's not really the case. Then you got to move on. That's the other part is don't linger and hold on to situations because when you do, you're looking to solve some type of problem. You're looking to, I don't want to say solve a problem. You're looking to fix something that can't be fixed. You're looking to go back to redo something and you can't. It's happened. And because it's happened, you just have to learn to accept it. And that's a big part. Uh, That's extremely big when it comes to the feelings, the emotions of that whole, man, life's against me, the world is against me type of thing. These are feelings, these are emotions. And don't let your emotions drive your thinking. Now, they can contribute. They definitely should contribute because they're valid. But put your logic in the forefront. It should be in the driver's seat in this situation, especially because when you are in a circumstance where you feel that the world is working against you, nothing is working to your advantage, then you have to take that time to tell yourself, no, that's not a reality. No, my mind is just leading me there. I have to realize that this happens to everyone. Now, the thing that happened to me, the challenges, that's not something that everyone can relate to. That's special to me. But each person has that special to me circumstance. So I can't think that the world is just conspiring against me because it's conspiring against him and her and those people over there. It, honestly, the world is not conspiring against anyone. Life life is just doing what it does. And since it's doing what it does, well, some people are going to be an unfortunate victim of that circumstance. Some people are going to be winners. You want to place yourself in a position where you can become a winner. So understand that, yes, you can feel like the world is against you. One or two people may agree with you. I mean, they've had their days too. But then again, it's all about understanding that if that's the case, then I need to I need to realize that I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one, and I can address the situation to work to my advantage. Reality is the world's not against you. You know, it it's really easy to believe that all the things that happen in this world, because you're not where you want to be, that life is against you. Now, I need you to understand that there actually may be aspects that are true, but it's not the whole truth. Life is not 100% against you. In fact, life is helping you. You have to just shift your perspective to understand that it's help. Uh, Case in point, I was talking about the different alerts. Those alerts are all beneficial, but it can become overkill. What you want to do is place yourself in a situation where it, feeling in your mind that, you know what, even though, even though the world may be against me, I'm still putting out my best and doing what I need to do. Because that actually, that's a benefit of realizing if you're on a mission, you're telling yourself, I need to incentivize myself. And that's where that whole, you know, the world is against me type thing, but here's what I'm going to do. That's where the benefit of the whole thing comes into place. Learn to shift your mentality. Once you shift your mentality and your thinking, the things that were trepidations become benefits. What that day everything was falling down and you were having one of those challenging Michael Douglas days, or what I call them, you can look at it and say, I learned something valuable in each of those circumstances. I know that I was feeling like the world was coming against me and everything was happening. But once I took a minute to do things like the breathing exercise and, you know, meditation, different, different things to help move you mentally, then you start looking at the world by saying, you know what? These matters. These things happen. But then also don't allow it to become a justification by saying things like, oh, well, the world's just against me. And I can't do, because when you develop that attitude, you end up in a situation that allows you to not see this is a benefit, to see this as a detriment. You don't want to do that. You don't want to spend your time justifying your inability. The goal is to get better at doing what you're doing. So then it now becomes a compliment of you, that it's a compliment because at one time you had such a hard time with it. And now you know how to manage it. Reality is, ladies and gentlemen, things are going to happen. The world that you're in, it's going to make sure that you understand that fact. It's going to do everything that it possibly can to get you to realize that you're in a situation where the world, you're in a situation where you feel that the world is coming against you. Truth of the matter is, like I said before, it's not. Understand that the complexities of life, the situations that you go through, the challenges that you face, all of it is designed to promote you, to bring you to a better version of yourself. Learning how to do that works to your advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking some time seeing another episode of the Grief Empowerment Theory. I hope you took this information so that you can start using it to work to your advantage. Again, things like breathing, helping you to realize that you can alleviate the stress and the anxiety related to the belief and the feelings of the world being against you. The world's not against you, it's for you. And you have to see that by understanding that the things you've gone through, everything is designed to make you stronger mentally and physically and emotionally. Sometimes all three. Then, like I said, like Susanna Newsman said, be kind to yourself. Stop beating yourself up. Stop justifying that the world is against you. Because, again, you can see it and it will look one way, or you can see it and it'll look another way. The other way is, you know what? I'm going to figure out how I can extract a lesson from this situation. And I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm not going to be mad because I've taken a wrong turn. A wrong turn simply just means that I can navigate and learn how to find the right one. That's what it comes down to. Instead of feeling that the world is against you, realize that this is more like a game, more like a video game. I mean, think about it. The first few levels of a video game, they're pretty easy. But then when you start advancing, it gets more complicated, things get more difficult. But every time you get over that and get to the next level, you made yourself stronger. Again, life is that way. And instead of taking the doom and gloom approach, turn around and say, this was hard. This was challenging. But you know what? I can manage this. I got it covered. No, the world is not against me. And that's one of those affirmations that you have to tell yourself constantly. I know that everything might justify you feeling that way, but don't tell yourself that I'm in a situation where I can't get to the next level. Life is so complicated that the world is against me. That is not the case. It's only the case when you make the decision to believe that. All these are decisions. I mean, it's clear that no matter what you go through, you have to decide whether the world is working for you or if the world is working against you. And if it's working against you in your mind, you need to figure out a way to get it to work to your advantage. That's the key. Turn the feelings of the woe is me, the world is so difficult, I can't make it through, it's conspiring against me thought process and turn it into a, you know what? I have had the privilege of being able to navigate through the challenges of this life. That I am privileged to be a part of. Remember, we have a 400 trillion to 1 opportunity of actually being born. So, with that being the case, every day, every day we're here, that's a privilege, even on our difficult days. I mean, think about this. There's someone in the graveyard right now who will probably kill for your worst day. So, stop having the feeling of the world being against you and understand that you have the privilege of being in this world and you're going to become a solution oriented person in this world. That's the only key that's going to allow you to shift your feelings, shift your beliefs, and again, take those small wins, manage them accordingly. So, quickly, I promised that I'll be telling you a couple of my life hacks. Um, like I said, doing something different every week. That was a big one because you got to learn so many new things. Like I said, in the 52 weeks of the year, you get 52 new skills you require. Look to see how you can tie your grief into your circumstance. For instance, you might want to start a business and you might want to use the fuel of the circumstances you were dealing with to do so. You may want to start a nonprofit. Same situation applies. Now, This is a big thing to whether you feel that the world's against you or not. A lot of times, people don't understand how limited their time is until someone that they cared about has passed. And now all of a sudden, they're racing, thinking about all these things they should get done because they don't have an understanding of when the day, the day that time will actually leave them there. So, um, now use grief, use it, use it as a catalyst to get you to the next level. Grief, grief is growth. Not, it's not always good, but or the feelings may not always be good, but the end results always are. But again, the goal is to understand that everybody goes through their days of the world is too much. Don't put yourself in that situation of willing to live a fuller cap, wanting to live a. I'm sorry, I just was tripping for a second. Wanting to live a life that keeps you from believing that you have the abilities. It keeps you from believing that you can conquer the world. You are not a victim. And that's the last thing I want to say. You're not a victim. Stop being in that victim's mode or mindset. Stop allowing yourself to believe that things are so complicated and the world is so large and that you can't traverse through the challenges because you have that ability. Again, thanks for coming to see another episode of the Grief Empowerment Theory. I hope you really understand the fact that life is not against you. It's honestly for you. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.